Hi, everybody. Welcome to the sprint number 4 for Nightingale review. Um, I'll be doing the presentation today because Thomas and Yen are out. And we can get started. So I can cover platform. Jordan is actually traveling from Philadelphia back to California. For the sprint, he did mostly ONOS and atomic fixes for Comcast. After many months of haggling back and forth, we finally have an STC job that runs on Jenkins. So that was a moral victory, if nothing else. It runs now once an hour, and I'm going to look into running it as a pipeline so we can run it on every check-in. For people not familiar with STC, it's sort of an integration test for ONOS that, for various reasons, we could never run on Jenkins before. We spent some time removing deprecated APIs that had been taken out in the 1.9, 1.10 timeframe. Utah did some work in Buck to separate out the installation of the plugins from the installation of Buck itself. This means we now don't have to build all of Buck and deploy all of Buck if something like the ONOS OSGI plugin or the Yang compiler plugin changes. And we are still in progress. We're still investigating various ways of doing repository disaggregation for source code.
Can I add one thing there?
Yeah.
That's the slide after. We also made a small change to the module owner plugin so that super module owners don't get added to change sets if they only would have been added because they're a super module owner. So if there are super module owners that want to be added to particular parts of the repo, they should request patterns of the source tree that they want to be added to. And the other thing is we also introduced a plugin which wasn't as stable as we would have liked. But anyway, we introduced a plugin that we'll fix, which will mark users that have not logged into Garrett, either to look at code, do a code review, or push code for 2 months. That'll mark them inactive, which will exclude them from being added to reviews.
Yeah, the idea behind these changes is we often have people who are no longer doing anything on the project listed as the only reviewers for things.
Yeah, the idea here is that we've gotten some feedback that super module owners get added to too many reviews which are not really relevant to them, and that contributors get submit patch sets that seem to have a large number of reviews, and they don't necessarily know that the people that have been added are not as
right.
well keeping up with the project anymore. Yep. So.
Okay, for ISSU, due to various Comcast things, not much happened on ISSU during this sprint. Jordan said there's going to be a brigade meetup in Menlo Park next week, so that should be fun. And that will be part of the next sprint. Didn't hear anything for anyone about dynamic config or P4 stuff. I'm assuming that with the show in Spain that we lost a lot of input into this meeting. gRPC the same. Not much going on web. Lion, this slide has not been updated in a while. I think we're basically where we were at the end of the last sprint. Packet optical, again, everyone's been at the shows. So I don't know what's going on with virtualization. Does anybody know? Is this actually being worked on? I don't know.
The developers, I think, got moved on to Volta for a while.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. Okay, well, that's why there's not much movement here. QA. Is that going to turn that over to John or Suchitra? John, okay.
So
the floor is yours.
I split up into a couple categories. So we're mostly doing work on segment routing. So adding a lot more tests for those. Created some failure scenarios for the SR routing tests, which should be pretty easy to port over to the other test suites in the segment routing. There's some ongoing work to get our tests working with the hardware that we're getting, and then adapting the HA suite to work with this, deployment setup. And then there's a lot more work on Jenkins, our test integration with Jenkins. So there's some more graphs. There's a couple of issues with migrating from the test-specific Jenkins to the ONOS project Jenkins. I think most of those issues have been fixed. And then there's some work to investigate some failures of the flow objective performance test.
Okay. So are we off the old Jenkins, or are you still using it?
I believe it is turned off, and unless we have any issues, it'll disappear in a couple weeks.
That's great.
Bug stats, I think these were updated earlier this morning, so it might be slightly different. But there were 7 resolved and 9 created in the sprint, which gives us a total of 228. If anyone has outstanding bugs that have been around for a while and no attention, probably should comment, or if something you filed a long time ago is still there but is no longer relevant, please close them. I think we'll be doing another bug scrub soon-ish. And then there's a couple of bugs that we highlighted.
Okay. The next sprint will be sprint 5, which is going to be 3 weeks again. The idea will be this is the end of feature development and integration work, and in theory, at the end of this next sprint, we should have pretty much everything in that we want modulo bugs. We'll have a hardening sprint after that, and then hoping for around April 13th for official release of 1.13. We're going to do sprint planning. That's next Monday, right? The 12th?
Was there an idea to move that to Tuesday? So Thomas could...
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. Thomas is not back, right? And I don't know what Yen's situation is. So I guess let's assume it's Tuesday. And I'll fix this later. Because, like I said, doing it without Yen and or Thomas is sort of pointless. And that's it. We don't have any demos for today. And that's the end of the slide deck. Anybody have anything else they want to bring up that didn't make it into the slides? All right, sounds like no. So I'll work out with Thomas and Yen when we're going to have the actual sprint planning, and we'll see everybody next week. Thanks.